call upon our secretary, uh, uh, Shri Gopal Arora, Professor Gopal Arora ji, to deliver the welcome address. Sir, floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much, Zamir. The speaker of today's program, Miss Sevdija, Demirova, Abdulova, and all the distinguished panelists in this program. It's with great pleasure that I welcome you all in this program. Uh, I'll just give you a brief introduction about the Center for Roma Studies and Cultural Relations. Friends, this is the first institutionalized arrangement to connect with the Romani community, which is over 20 million around the world. Earlier, there had been, programs off and on to connect with this very important segment. But it was somewhere in 2016 that we had a formal program in which our External Affairs Minister, Shrimati Sushma Swaraj, inaugurated the international conference, which was organized at Indian Council for Cultural Relations. And as a follow-up of the recommendations, it was considered necessary to have an institutional arrangement to know about Romani community, to promote the cultural relations with our brothers and sisters, and promote research in this area. So this center is, supported by ICCR, and we do a lot of programs, and we have covered quite some ground over the past 6-7 years. You'll be happy to note that we do organize international conferences. In India, back home, we do organize important Roma days, be it the Flag Day, the Roma Language Day. We also observe the Holocaust Day. And we organize programs to sensitize the people here, because what is important that we noticed was that not many people are aware about this important segment. So we call them the forgotten children. Besides that, Zamir is a research fellow at that center, and we bring out a Roma newsletter periodically. It's a fortnightly newsletter. Then the publications are there. And this lecture series is very important, in which we invite, prominent activists in the field to share their thoughts. So this is the 26th such lecture. And it is my great pleasure to be welcoming Miss Sevdija Demirova Abdulova here. She's a very accomplished, multifaceted personality. I was going through her profile. She's a writer, a cultural activist, a trainer, an educationist, a journalist, a script writer, a news presenter, and you name it, and she is there. So it's really great to have you, Sevdija, with us. And the topic which you have chosen is also very close to our heart, which is the cultural Odyssey, exploring the timeless bonds, that is Roma's historical and cultural connections with India. So when we seek to expand our outreach to the Romani community, one single most important factor which I can single out is, our historical and cultural bonds, which actually connect us. Though since the centuries have passed, so maybe people have forgotten. So that's why we sometimes call them, forgotten children. But we are trying to revive that. And in fact, I am happy to tell you that in Kannauj, from where a large chunk of Romani people actually migrated, we have made efforts with the Uttar Pradesh government, and they have agreed to have a museum on Romani history and culture. So that is very much taking shape. And I think in the next 6 months to 1 year, we'll be seeing good development on that. One more important part which I would like to add before I conclude is that to strengthen this people to people connection, to build bridges between India and our own Romani community, we are now planning to have exchange of goodwill delegations. So very soon, an ARSP, the center's delegation of 3-4 members, they plan to visit, a few of the countries. Of course, you are spread across the globe. So we will be happy to meet the organizations there so that this bond is strengthened, and will be very happy to receive the goodwill delegations, the Romani delegations back home in India. And whatever help we can extend to them, it will be our pleasure. So, with these few words, I welcome you all once again. I am seeing, a lot of known figures. Virendra Rishi ji is there, Nelu Pavel is there, Buka Aline is there, Gatha Rajagopal, Susanna, Julia. I welcome you all. Please excuse me if I have missed some names, but I know that they're all very persons who are seriously involved in Roma studies and Roma issues. So we look forward to stay connected with you and strengthen this bond. Thank you very much. Zamir, over to you to take it forward. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Professor Gopal Arora, sir. And you you gave a bird's eye view of the center objective, the functions and activities which we have been steadfastly performing for the last 5 and 6 years. So, and you also talked about our upcoming event like the Goodwill Delegation, and we also mentioned about the Roma Memorial, Roma Commemorative Memorial in Kannauj, which is proposed to be built. So thank you very much, sir. And I again extend my sincere thanks on behalf of Center for Roma Studies and Cultural Relations to all the participants and the dignitaries who joined us today. As I mentioned, today we have a very eminent speaker, Ms. Sevdija Demirova Abdulova, and our secretary already, gave introductions about her. And some more points I think that I would like to add to her to her introduction. And I think that she has been working in the cabinet of the president of the Republic of North Macedonia as an advisor in the public relation department for the last 8 years. And she has been teaching the Roma students of Roma Universitas North Macedonia about Romani history, identity, culture, and language for a decade. She is like the cultural preservationist, that is, and the prominent Roma activist. So today, the theme of today's lecture aims at exploring historical and cultural affinity of Roma with India. In this context, it is imperative to note that the historical relation of Roma with India is axiomatic and around 1,000 year old. And the cultural connection between Roma and India is inherent. However, the culture is dynamic, so new elements are being appended to those already existing as time goes by and a social situation pans out. It is the same with the Romani culture. As the perennial inbound and outbound migration transition to modern societies, assimilation, integration with the local population, discrimination, persecution, prejudices, stereotypes, which impacted and have been impacting Roma's distinct ethnic culture and brought about a striking transformation in their cultural traits, including tangible and intangible elements and features. Nonetheless, a number of Romani groups in several regions and countries preserved centuries old ethnic cultural heritage, which they carried with themselves from India a millennium ago. So, Romani scholars and anthropologists unanimously concede to the fact that Roma and India are bound by shared culture and their lifestyle, which constitutes rich tapestries of beliefs, values, norms, customs, and habits. And not only the linguistic, physiological, and physiognomic and genetic aspects of Roma are very much Indian, but also their spiritual and mystical realms of life stand on the lofty pedestal of Indian spirituality and mysticism. It is also envisaged that the motive, the idea of India's age-old, intangible cultural assets can serve as a unifier amongst the different subvariants of Romani groups. Whether the tangible culture, the cultural features like a wedding or the institutions like a religion, and but also the psychological culture, like the American anthropologists proposed the, proposition of non-linear anthropology, non-linear culture, that talks about that culture is shaped according to the um, according to the uh, according to the social condition of that society, like where that people are being persecuted or people are made slave or people are enslaved. So that also form the different kind of culture. So I believe that as we have a very distinguished speaker, so I expect that she would deliberate on the different aspects, tangible and intangible aspects of Romani culture, and how what are the analogous and similar elements and components and shared cultural heritage between Roma and India. So I don't want to go further, and without delay, I would like to call upon our speaker, whom we are very much interested in listening to, Sevdija Demirova Abdulova, to articulate her views on the foregoing subject in detail. Now, the virtual room is yours, ma'am. So now you can deliver your lecture. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and being with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me here. Good afternoon to our hosts, distinguished representatives from the Center for Roma Studies and Cultural Relations and from the Indian Council for International Cooperation. Good afternoon to our dear panelists, dear friends. Thank you for having me here again, and I hope that all the information that I will present to you today that are going to be interesting and useful for another researchers on the topics about the bonds between Roma people and their native ancestral motherland, India. So today we embark on a journey to explore the rich and complex tapestry of Roma people. So I assume everybody knows that Roma people are one of the most marginalized and diverse ethnic group in Europe and in the world, of course. So their history, culture, the socio-economic status have been subject of scholarly interest and human rights concern for decades. And not only for Roma scholars, also for others who are very interested with all the issues that are concerning Roma people, and there are different reasons for this. According to the tradition of the old Roma, we all know that the ancestral homeland is India, and about this, The genetics have also studied the origins of the Roma people. So as Zamir said, this question is old more than 1,000 years. So I think that the linguists were the first who provided evidence about Roma origins. Also, the migration of the Roma is mentioned in many legends. And me and my dear friend and colleague, Merdita Saliu, she is also one of the prominent researchers, publicists, authors here in Macedonia. And she is the first Roma journalist who has a BA degree here in North Macedonia. We had research in our book, The Cultural Treasure of Roma in North Macedonia. So what we used for our further research was one well-known legend of Gan and Chen. And according to this legend, Roma lived across the Gang River in a powerful kingdom. And the Roma leader of the kingdom had a son named Chen, whom he loved very much. And in another kingdom near India, the king had a daughter named Gan. Knowing that he would soon die due to impending large military campaign and the collapse of his kingdom, the king asked his friend from the neighboring kingdom across the Gang, the Roma leader, to adopt his young daughter to protect her from the war. So when the war began, the girl's father died. Thus, Chen and Gang grew up together as brother and sister. So when they grew older, the love blossomed between them. After the leader's death, Chen was supposed to assume leadership, and then he had to marry. However, he refused to marry anyone except Gan. Chen's mother revealed the truth to Gan that they were not actually brother and sister, but they couldn't let others know this because of Gan's protection. So I will go to the end of this story because it is very, very long, and it is just one step before the most interesting research detail that I want to share with you. So Gan and Chen, along with those who supported them, were banished from the kingdom, and the fortune teller cursed them to wander the world for 1,000 years, never drinking water from the same river twice, and never sleeping in the same place twice. This is only one legend. One of the legends that I have heard from one Roma from Sweden, and I met him 10 years ago. He wanted to help him here in Shuto Rizari to meet with some distinguished and prominent Roma activists and to write a book about Roma. He told me some interesting legends that actually this was the first point that I had to go back to my childhood when I was hearing from my late mother so many things connected to India. And I was wondering, although I did know the fact that our ancestral motherland is India, when I was a child, I didn't have a chance to find some literature that will actually give me some evidence about this. So it is interesting to know that legends are here just to show us that there are really bonds between Roma and India, and to motivate us to make some other further researches in order to find many other similarities that are between our Roma people and India, of course. Well, another legend related to how the indigenous Roma left their homeland tells of a period of great wars that led the Roma to abandon their settlements. Fleeing, they came across a large river that not everyone could cross, as there were many elderly people, women, and children among them. God saw their suffering and sent large geese to carry the people across the river to another land. This legend is closely associated with the Roma holiday Vasilica, which Roma traditionally celebrate as a thanksgiving for the geese saved their lives. This holiday is a significant part of Roma tradition, and actually this is a Roma big day or holiday that is celebrated most in Macedonia, in Bulgaria, and in Serbia. And although many of the custom parts are related to Orthodox or religious elements, there are this legend, and the most significant part of this holiday, the geese, actually is referring that Roma people are original, authentic, and they are just keeping all the traditions and customs for many centuries. So my question when I read all these legends was, what actually forced the Roma to leave their homeland many centuries ago? The historians answer that the migration occurred due to wars in India and around India until the year of 1192. A large number of Roma lived in the northern, northwestern, and central regions of India. And because of the disrupted existential conditions resulting from the events at the time, Roma left India. And there are many other data that are referring to this. And I would say that we all know that Roma people is a diverse and vibrant ethnic group that have a social landscape shaped by historical experiences, cultural practices, and contemporary challenges. As a journalist in Roma News Department in Macedonian radio television, in my over 2 decades journalistic work, I had the opportunity to make many researches in order to give to the audience a comprehensive overview of the social dimensions that define the Roma community, shedding light on their identities, family structures, religious beliefs, education, healthcare access, and the obstacles they encounter in various aspects of their lives. I often had a chance to make interviews in the Romani communities within the Romani neighborhood. Earlier, we have mentioned the Shutorizari as the biggest neighborhood in North Macedonia, but one of the oldest neighborhoods in North Macedonia is Topana, and it is in the capital of the North Macedonia, in Skopje, and there are many Roma people that are living with centuries in this settlement. So I had a chance to prepare many documentaries putting the light on this topic, and what I have understood is that for Roma people, the most significant factor playing a crucial role in the life of every individual is their family and loved ones. Among the old Roma, it was often said, you can live without money, but living without family is much harder. You can change your place of residence, your direction in life, your school, your job, but you cannot change your family. Extended families play a central and foundational role in Romani culture, serving as the cornerstone of social organization and support. And within extended families, multiple generations, including grandparents, parents, children, aunts, uncles, cousins, they often lived in close proximity. It's interesting to say that elders within the family are often are the keepers of Romani traditions, ensuring their continuity. But the decision-making process within Romani families was and still is collective. So the major decisions, such as those related to marriage or relocation, are typically discussed and decided upon by the family as a whole. Because family holds a central role in the patriarchal Romani social institution, they place significant emphasis on their family and lineage. Within the Romani culture, individuals within the same clan are considered relatives, and there is an expectation that they will provide support and assistance to one another in times of need. Well, this is just one part about the family bonds that are very, very strong in the Romani communities. And one strong part is the traditional gender roles, when women typically are responsible for managing the household and caring for the children. But the expectation for the men is to provide for family's livelihood and ensure its protection. However, the differential treatment of girls and boys within Romani families that was many years ago, that means that in nowadays there are many changes that were made. They actually contributed to varying opportunities. And in the history of Romani communities, of earlier Romani life of the Romani people, actually boys and men were the ones who could pursue education, work, and earn a living. Also, when I was a child, my father always told me that if you have a son, that means that you are a strong person. If you have a daughter, that means that you are blessed, but also and curse at the same time. When I was a child, I didn't understand well what he wanted to say with this, but afterwards, studying all the bonds inside one Romani family, I understood that for centuries, these relations between men and women in the family actually gathered Roma people at one place, and including these, the Romani Greece, and all the laws inside the Romani Greece, we see why Romani people, although they were living everywhere, in every part in the world, they kept their traditions, their customs, their language, although they didn't have any written documents or written books or other publications. When it came to a girl's marriage, also the decision and choice for her entry into marriage was made by her father or brother or elder man in the family. And once a girl got married, she was expected to obey her husband and please him, but also listening to her father's family and relatives. There are many, Romani girls here in my country that are doing this. And I would like to say that things are a little bit changed in nowadays, and I would say in a different direction, in a modern direction, but also they are keeping some of this relation and bonds because this is very important for them. In the past period, within the household, there were strictly divided gender roles. No work for the husband. Everything should do the wife. All the responsibilities for managing of the household, caring for the children, looking after the elderly was bride's role. And in other words, women were doing this. Everything that was needed or happened outside the home was the husband's responsibility. I often ask myself, Roma people have lived as nomads for centuries. How come they have preserved most of their characteristics up to nowadays? Exploring the meaning of Romani pe or Romani identity, I had to explore its elements, and the most dominant element is Romani Chris. Before we started this lecture today, I've heard that you mentioned Romani Chris or Romano Zakono. Some of the Roma in Europe are naming, but Romani Chris actually, it's the oldest tradition of the Roma, the court, this system. It's very significant, although it was mostly used by the Vlah branch of the Roma people or Vlah group of Roma people. This institution played a significant role in enforcing the Romani code. So its long tradition of implementation has made many influence as well in other Roma groups and subgroups. For example, here in North Macedonia, until the 80s of the past century, there were it was a custom when Romani group Kovaci or blacksmiths the part of the Romani Chris or Romani code was that they never should give a girl to be bride to someone from Vlah, Lahoia or Jambazi Romani group, because they were so different in caste, because Kovaci or blacksmiths were a group that was very respected in all community because of their work. And Vlachs and Jambazi were earlier known for trading with horses. So in the past 80, 90 years, in the time before this period, actually, these Roma, Jambazi or Vlachs, they were not respected, not only in Roma community, but general in the society. And this was changed 25 or 30 years ago. And before that, only the members from one clan or one Roma group, inside their group, they were interacting and no one from other group should have disturbed them or change some of the things that they used to do. Romani Chris, we know that it operates and it's based on traditional norms and values. The Romano Zakono is very, very important, and that's why it plays a vital role in upholding and enforcing the principles. Also, we do know that it is very important for the community cohesion, because it contributes to the cohesion of the Romani community by promoting the social unity and cooperation. We still have this in the Romani communities and Romani neighborhoods, and this is very important because their originality and their norms and values are giving, Roma people are giving to the next generations because they do not want to be assimilated with other people that they're living in their native countries. I would say that, again, I will mention the Kovaci or blacksmith families here in North Macedonia. Because growing up with those norms, afterwards, they motivated me to prepare different stories for the newsroom Beyond the Pen. And I have learned that North Macedonia is using different variations of Romani Greece. In some traditional families, an approximate form of Romani court is encountered in cases involving the prevention of divorce or reconciliation between spouses and their families. And until the last century, among the Roma, one type of a Romani court or Romani suit or Romani Greece functioned within the blacksmith community, particularly in cases where a girl of her own choice would marry a man from a different community, as I mentioned before, Kovaci or Jambazi, but also there are other Romani groups in Macedonia, and most of them are Arli, the group of Arli, and there are Prishtavac, there are Gilanlie, Topanlie, and those are Romani groups that form one larger. Actually, there are subgroups that they're forming a larger group of Arli, which is dominating in my country. So they made influence among Kovaci or blacksmiths. And since then, in the past 3 or 4 decades, we are having mixed marriages from different subgroups, for instance, Kovaci and Jambazi. And actually, myself, I am from the Kovaci family, but I am one of the first Roma girls that entered into Jambazi or Vlach's family. So okay. In such instances, I would say that when it came to the marriage of a male blacksmith to a bride from another Romani community, the women or the bride would be accepted because, according to the patriarchal principle, she was expected to embrace all the customs and all the dialects of the blacksmiths. Through the paternal line, their descendants would be blacksmiths. They were known for their efforts to preserve the pure nature of the community with their dialect and customs. I would say that this is part or variation of marime as part of the Romani Greece. And the most important thing also here in my country and at the Balkan is that marime, or to be very clean, and especially before the biggest holidays, and the biggest holidays are Hederlezi and Vasilica here in North Macedonia. It's very important to use the marime, and all the women were just cleaning their houses inside and outside in order to their homes, their homes to be clean from the evil spirits. In the book, The Cultural Heritage of the Roma, that I wrote together with Miss Mirdita Saliu, we did a research on several topics, including Romani traditional professions, Romani literature, language, customs, and holidays. However, the most important part in the book were the interviews that we made with Roma people. The information that they gave us were very valuable, especially about Roma blacksmiths, a traditional professions of Roma people in Macedonia that in the past centuries has made Roma people highly esteemed in the world of craftsmen. The blacksmith craft is one of the oldest trades practices by the Roma, dating back to their ancestral homeland. Roma blacksmiths in contemporary regions adopted this trade alongside conquering armies. During the Middle Ages, it was very crucial for armies to have at least one skilled blacksmith. They crafted and repaired military weapons such as shields, spears, and horseshoes for the cavalry. One of our late MPs in the Macedonian parliament, Mr. Amdi Bayram, the most famous politician who was almost in all the parliaments of our country, often said that Roma people came to North Macedonia together with the army of the Alexander the Great, because they were the best craftsmen, and that's how they came here. We were just hearing this and knowing that there are many researches done that were showing that definitely Roma craftsmen or kovači, blacksmiths, were part of these armies, and there is data about this. So the blacksmith craft in my country and in the Balkans, although is dying, unfortunately, because there are only a couple of blacksmith places where they are actually doing their craft. I should say that the oldest blacksmith workshop is in the Skopje Bazaar, and we made interview with the brothers Mehmet and Islam Zekirovski. Their father, Master Celadin, inherited it from his father, Mehmet. And today, the two brothers support their families by working in his free workshop. Unfortunately, probably they are the last ones with from this family that will work as craftsmen or as blacksmiths, because the new generation actually are going along with the modern technology and the new professions of the new age. One of the blacksmiths that we spoke, he told us, I've been practicing this trade with my grandfather, then with my father, and now I work alongside my son, although I'm not sure if he will continue this craft. So he said that there was plenty of work and good earnings, and the good colleagues. They had the great colleagues. There was no envy. Everyone helped each other when iron needed to be forged, because you know iron is the best work while it's hot and glowing. He said, for me, blacksmith is an art because you turn iron into something useful and practical. So the blacksmith trade was highly respected. Each of us was a master in making one or more blacksmith products, and everyone specialized in crafting specific tools. My family also has a tradition in as a craftsman, as blacksmith, and I had a chance in my past work to make comparison between India and Roma, and one of the similarity and actually the relation between two countries is the Banjara blacksmiths and snake charmers, the nomadic people of Rajasthan, and they were considered as the closest ancestors of Roma of Europe, because there are many data that shows that this craft is actually coming from India, and there are many nomadic people who are still working with iron, and they're making objects from iron. And I had a chance to see a documentary with one of these nomadic group of people, and I've heard them how they are talking, and like I was in Shuto, so I understood everything they were saying. For example, the girl wanted to drink pani, and pani is also the name for water, and she also says sastran for iron and other things. Maybe in the near future or in our different meeting, I will talk more about the similarities of the language similarities, because there are so many, including Sanskrit, and I'm about to finish my research about this, so maybe I will share with you in the near future about this. Exploring Roma culture in the past 30 years during my active involvement in the fields of culture, media, and literature, I have come to the conclusion that many elements and aspects bear striking resemblance between the Roma and their ancestral homeland, India. However, the most significant comparison can be drawn when examining traditional attire. When it comes to Roma attire in the Balkan countries, the first association is typically shalvari, a term rooted in their ancestral homeland India, or dimi, a term accepted by Albanians, or cintiani. This is a term used by Roma in Macedonia. The word shalvari itself is of Persian origin and means trousers. Both the term and the garment were brought by Muslim conquerors. It is believed that trousers or clothing originated from Turkish and Iranian horsemen from Central Asia. They wore white pants or trousers for the comfort this attire provided during horseback riding, and because of the warm climate, allowing air circulation between the clothing and their body. From the 12th century onwards, Turkish and Iranian conquerors launched campaigns into northern parts of India, such as Rajasthan, Punjab, and Uttar Pradesh. This resulted in the northern Indian population adopted the same style of clothing as the conquerors wearing shalwars. This style of clothing has persisted in India to this day, and in addition to this style, various regions have different ways of wearing shalwars. I would say that the difference in these shalwars lies in the pleating, whether they are pleated on the outside or inside the lower limbs, and whether they are anarkali shalwars and characterized by narrow pants, especially around the calf area, while the upper part resembles a dress that widens from the waist down. This type of shalvari was transformed into white skirts, a characteristic Roma attire or clothing worn by women in Romania, Russia, Hungary, Slovenia, and Poland. These skirts are known for their vibrant colors, and their width allows for great comfort in performing everyday household tasks, narrow or wide. And in case of dhoti shalwars, the lower part is pleated on the outside of the lower limbs, created an ornamental drapes. These shalwars bear the closest resemblance to the shalwars worn in Macedonia and the Balkan region. They have undergone modifications, and today they have a similar appearance to dhotis in terms of the lower part of the shalwars, while the upper part has been significantly changed. Showers in our region typically have a more ornate upper part, often made with pleats and wide sleeves that give them a special luxurious beauty. Additionally, these showers can be worn with a blouse made of lightweight material adorned with lace or embroidery with metallic thread. In the Balkans, especially in Macedonia, Kosovo, and Bosnia, women have traditionally worn and continue to wear showers as part of their festive attire. Over time, the materials used to showers have evolved, but they have always been characterized by vibrant colors, embroidery with metallic thread, or floral patterns, a silk vest in gold or silver, and the blouse or upper garment made of silk adorned with metallic thread. Women at home used to wear kuli, a type of showers made from simple fabric, usually cotton or linen, which required less material. Let's say that for festive showers, the women are using 12 to 15 meters of material, and for coolies, 3 or 4 meters of material. Older women would layer the showers with a red futa, that is an apron made of a fabric similar to striped rugs with lines either white or black. On their heads, they often tied white headscarves, but sometimes in other colors. When they went outside, they would add another headscarf in darker colors, which was tied around the chin. Of course, today this traditional attire is only worn on special occasions, such as weddings, and older women may still wear it at home, opting for kuli or long white skirts. One other thing that I wanted to share with you that is part of tradition of India and Roma people is the use of henna. The henna has also been used in southern China and has been associated with many rituals for at least 3,000 years. Henna, we know that henna mostly is used in India, but also in other Asian countries. We know that ancient India has discovered that a paste made from the dried leaves of the henna plant, when applied to the feet or hands, reduces body temperature, which is beneficial for moving around in desert landscapes. In Indian culture and consequently in Roma culture, it's a custom to apply henna to a woman's hand after 40 days of childbirth. During this ritual, the molecules of love song in henna have a positive influence on happiness hormones and have a calming effect. Do you still hear me?
Yes, yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes.
We are on the
Yes.
same page. We are listening to you very carefully.
Okay. I just had a feeling that something happened with the connection. So
No,
I'm
no,
sorry
no,
for the interruption.
no.
I will tell you what the Romani women from Skopje has told us about henna's usage in Romani families. She told us that before 40 days after giving birth, henna was applied to the hands of new mothers, and she said, I remember it well. When I reached 40 days after giving birth, or when my baby was 40 years old, I went to my mom's house and stayed overnight. As a symbol that I had become the mother, she decorated my hands with henna. She said it was good for my body to calm me and prevent postpartum traumas and to quickly regain my strength. If my body is calm, I will have better milk for breastfeeding. It's a tradition that is still practiced today. Also, I should say that henna is also used in the wedding ceremonies. And the wedding henna is one of the customs observed among the Roma, which they have successfully preserved, we assume, from their ancestral homeland in India. Specifically, before the wedding ceremony, henna is applied to the hair and hands of the bride. The wedding henna is prepared in the groom's house, and this is a very special day. It is prepared by an older relative or the grandmother of the groom. The groom himself is involved in the mixing of the henna, using his own finger to stir it. According to beliefs, the groom's involvement in mixing the henna symbolizes his love for the bride. Thus, when it's applied for the bride's hair and hands, the redness of the henna represents their love. From a medical perspective, henna, when activated, the heat of the head or hands enters the bloodstream, and the chemical reaction reduces the stress of the wedding ceremony and calms the bride. In North Macedonia, Wednesday is the day for applying henna to the bride's hair. On this day, the groom, accompanied by relatives and all the wedding gifts, including the white dress or the wedding gown, along with the henna, are taken to the bride's house. The bride, while at her parents' house before the arrival of the groom's party, she wears trousers and is covered by a veil. When she greets her mother-in-law, she asks for money, and this is a symbolic amount. The henna is applied to the bride's hair by two women, one from the groom and the other from the bride's side, with the condition that they have not been previously divorced, meaning that they have been married only once. Before placing the henna in the bowl, it is dipped in milk from a young nursing woman to bless the new bride with motherhood. After applying the henna, the bride greets her mother-in-law again and sits in her place 3 times, symbolizing that she will be the hostess like her mother-in-law. And it is interesting to share with you that the next day, on Thursday, only women from both sides, they gather and go to the bride's house for the bride's bath in order to bathe the bride. In this tradition, henna signifies that the bride is slowly transitioning into the world of married women. And the chemical composition of the henna is important, and it contributes to reducing wedding stress. One of the customs for which the Roma people are known worldwide is weddings. And compared to the wedding customs of other nations, Roma weddings are the longest and last almost a whole week. It all begins with the bride's request. In the bride's home, the groom's parents and their several relatives, they visit to ask for the girl's hand in marriage for their son. And after a procedural conversation for the request, and once the girl is given as the bride, a tray with bread, salt, and sugar is placed, and the future father-in-law leaves a symbolic sum of money known as babahak among the Roma, as a token of gratitude for the care provided to the future bride until then. Then the parents of both the bride and the groom eat bread and salt, symbolizing their union. Afterwards, the engagement ring is placed on the girl's finger, signifying her commitment. On the same day, the wedding is arranged. From that moment, the girl starts preparing her her dowry, which includes almost all the necessary items for the household, such as bedding, warriors' handmade items, clothing, and more. The groom also makes preparations and buys all the necessary items for the bride, such as clothing, everyday costumes, jewelry, and much, much more. The wedding begins with the host from the groom's side and the bride's side inviting their closest relatives to witness the presentation of the dowry, which will be taken to the bride's new home, or the dowry. This dowry actually is very important, and if the bride carries with her much more dowry, that means that the family is very wealthy, and all other in the Romani neighborhood, Romani community, they're seeing them with different eyes. On Monday, the closest relatives are invited again. That means that usually on Sundays is the wedding ceremony, but on Mondays there is a custom when the host plan to assign warriors tasks for the bridesmaids and groomsmen. They are giving them many tasks, and they have specific responsibilities. And this is very interesting because they are also jokes for the groom. And these jokes are made, of course, from the relatives of the bride. As I mentioned, Wednesday is the henna day. And this is the day to put the wedding knot in the bride's hair. And also, there are some interesting other customs that I used to witness them many times, and I can see that they are like a bridge between Indian and Romani people's culture. Because researching the ceremonies of Indian people and of Romani people, we see that there are many similarities. And one of these similarities, we should say that it's in, let me say just this, that most of the customs that they are part of Romani weddings, nowadays they have new elements that they are added. So young couples follow the modern trends, and with the advancement of technology, they have easy access to fulfilling their vision. Pre-wedding rituals are often organized by the couples themselves. Most commonly, they go to a tourist destination where the groom proposes to the bride and gives her the ring, and then they announce it to the public through pictures or videos on their social media profiles. Romani and Indian weddings maybe are culturally distinct, and they have their own unique customs and traditions, but however, there are some similarities and common elements in the sense that both cultures often place a significant emphasis on family, community, and the celebrations of love. And this is very important. So I should say that the Romani and India weddings can be elaborate and extended celebration that can span multiple days or even weeks. For example, Romani weddings is 8 days, And the last day is the day when the family of the bride is coming with cakes, with other presents. And it is officially the first day of a new life of the bride. Also, both cultures typically involve extended family and community participation in the preparations of the wedding and the ceremony. And weddings are not seen just as a union between two individuals, but also it's a joining of two families. And that's why it's very important who is the other family. And for me, the color is very, very interesting because both weddings, Romani and Indian, they're known for their colorful, pardon. And the bride and groom, they wear ornate clothing that reflects their cultural heritage. So for me, the wedding was one of the most intricate parts of the research, but also, I'm sorry. Not only that, but also the music fascinated me. There are many elements that are similar between our cultures. And I will come to the last part of the lecture that I want to share with you, because Indian and Romani culture is very rich. There are many aspects, many elements that should be shared. But for today's lecture, I think that I should add as well that the Romani tradition, custom, and especially the holidays that are very, very interesting here in my country. And I will explain why they are bridge between India and Roma. When it comes to Roma culture, their customs and tradition, the initial impression among non-Roma often centers on vibrancy, song, and dances. It was indeed the case in the past. If you inquire about the holidays celebrated by Roma, they will mention a multitude of them. Most of these celebrations were adopted as a result of interaction with the local non-Roma population in the areas that they were settled. When asked whether these holidays are Roma in origin or if there are specific Roma holidays, they will explain that the Roma holidays celebrated by their families have been handed down from their ancestors and are thus upheld traditionally. So, in terms of how the holiday is celebrated, it often mirrors the practices of the majority population, whose holiday it is, and the nearby Roma community follows suit. For instance, during Easter, they engaged in egg dyeing, while for Christmas, they baked traditional bread. St. George Day might see them attending church services. When asked whether these mainstream holidays are considered Roma celebrations, they typically emphasize that these traditions have been inherited from their forebears and that their primary focus is on marking these occasions rather than categorizing them as specifically Roma or non-Roma holidays. To them, these are days of spiritual significance that warrant observance. This outlook may partly stem from their historical roots, which feature the pantheon of deities like Lakshmi, Ganesh, Parvati, and others, while the Roman ancestral homeland celebrated a wide range of holidays. Because of their nomadic lifestyle, caused many of these traditions to fade away. As a result, some customs have evolved, some have remained intact, while others, like the practice of placing a knot on a young bride or using spring adhesive grass on clothing during St. George Day, have unique regional variation. Many Roma people consider St. George's Day, known as Hederlezi, to be a Christian holiday in honor of Saint George. However, Hederlez is the only holiday that have managed to preserve to this day, and it is a Roma holiday. This was discussed by the Roma researcher Shaib Yusuf. He's the author of the first Romani grammar here in North Macedonia. And in the Roma language program Beyond on Macedonian television in 1992, he shared his insights about the observance of this holiday, Hederlezi, or as it is known in India, Holi. Hederlezi is a holiday marking the arrival of spring and onset of lush vegetation. Prior to this holiday, Indians were not allowed to eat certain vegetables such as young onions, leeks, and cucumbers. This prohibition was due to the fact that India had a large population, and if people started consuming vegetables and fruits too early in February, when they were already available due to the warm temperatures, the food would quickly run out. To prevent premature consumption of these foods, this holiday was established. According to legend, this holiday is associated with the god Indra, the protector and giver of rain, who nourishes vegetation. On Hederlezi, or Holi, Indra would visit and mark the homes that observe the holiday and its prohibition, refraining from eating vegetables prematurely as a day to ensure that there would be enough food left for the rest of the population. Indra would also inspect which homes were clean and tidy and mark them accordingly. There are other explanations related to the celebration of Hederlezi among the Roma. According to one of these explanations from the Roma linguist Selatin Cruesi from Denmark, Hederlezi is an ancient holiday. This holiday has been celebrated since the time of Saint Hizir and Saint Elias or Eles, as passed down from generation to generation and written in religious texts. This day has existed since the time of Saint Moses, who it is believed lived 13 years before Saint Jesus. As tradition has it, Saint Hizir and Saint Elias would meet once in a year on May 6th, when summer was about to begin. This was because, in those days, people only recognized two seasons, summer and winter. Therefore, the Roma used original words for summer and winter, Nilai and event, while adopting names for other seasons from various languages. The sequence of annual seasons is still used in the Old Turkish language, such as by the Gagauz community in Moldova and other groups in Mesopotamia. Interestingly, in the Gagauz monthly calendar, May is referred to as Hederlezi. This suggestion This suggests that the Roma lived alongside this Turkish community and adopted this tradition. The saints, Hizir and Eles, would meet each year on May the 6th, praying for the end of winter, for good health and a beautiful harvest. Accordingly to the elderly, prayers made on this day were accepted by the Almighty. On this day, the Roma bathed with grass, symbolizing the need to enter the summer season clean and tidy, just like the grass and vegetation. One of the saints was associated with the earth, while the other was associated with water. On the Balkan, there is a celebration called Vasilica, a winter holiday. Those date coincides with Old New Year. Despite having some elements in common with Orthodox Christianity, this celebration also includes practices unique to the Roma community, such as placing great importance on the goose. The connection between the goose and the celebration of Vasilica is found in several legends. So I will conclude today's discussion with a brief summary that the Roma people, despite leaving their homeland in India and facing numerous challenges and repercussions, have successfully passed down their customs, traditions, unwritten rules and laws to future generations wherever they have settled. They have retained certain aspects of their way of life from their ancestral homeland, preserving elements that were most significant to them. And most importantly, they have maintained their authenticity and originality up to present day. Thank you very much for your attention. And I'm really sorry I had to cough. I'm sorry for
No
brief
problem.
pauses.
Thank you very much, Sevdija. It is a very detailed and elaborate and comprehensive and insightful speech. It gave us, you touched upon from legends to jokes, from family to marriage, and from different subgroups of Roma community to the very intricate traditions and customs, and also about the pantheons, and festivals and gods. So it is a really very insightful and very knowledgeable speech, and I really appreciate, and I really delighted in. So now we have the question and session. If you have any kind of questions, or if they want to put some remarks on her speech, so please go ahead. Yes, Dinah. Yes, Dinah, you can.
Hello, everybody. Lachogives Savorenge. I'm Diana Kirilova. I'm a Roma from Bulgaria living in Paris. I obtained my PhD in 2011, Anthropology and Philosophy in Science in Educational Science in the Sorbonne University in Paris. Today, I heard really very carefully this presentation. Thank you for this presentation and for this explanation. I would like just to give some, to underline some points that I think it's important to keep in mind as and to have some reflection about the presentation I heard today and now. Regarding the presentation of Madame Demirova, it was really very interesting from anthropological point of view to explain to us how is the situation of Roma people in Macedonia, to speak about the different group and signs in the Roma population, the diversity of dialects, tradition, cultures, and habits. It was really very interesting to hear this and to see how is the situation in Macedonia, but from more general point of of view regarding the similarity, the differences between the Indian people and the Roma people. I think that we need really more deep research and historical documents which prove and mention that the Roma people are really from Indian origin. It needs really a specific and very deep research and study by the specialists which are working on history in general. Regarding the similarity about the celebration of Roma people, she was talking about the Erdélezi and Vasilita as mentioned as holidays. I would like just to reflect that these celebrations are not holidays between our Roma population. This is our two big celebration for the Roma people. The Vasilita is really the Roma New Year. We consider this as a Roma New Year. And Erdélezi, it's really very near to the Turkish tradition. Ilyas and the two brothers, they were at the beginning, they were Turkish. I don't know if this tradition we talk from the Turkish people. I don't know how it's come to us, but the Roma tradition of Roma people, we are practice this, and it's really very, very important for us, but not as a holidays, but as a celebration with the different meanings, cleaning, etc., as she was explaining. But it is really not a holiday for the Roma people. And regarding the Indian and the Roma people, she was talking about the marriage, about the henna. This is really a similarity with the Indian people, and shalvar, she explained also to us the meaning of the shalvar, but shalvar is a Turkish word, and it was more used at the past by the Turkish people. I don't know also if this would talk from the Turkish or if it come from India. I don't know. It needs really more and deep research about these topics and these questions. But I think that so we started to work on this, and the work will continue. We have some hypotheses about the Roma origin and Roma people, which was elaborated by Marcel Courtiade, who died unfortunately in 2019. We were in India with a big Roma delegation with the Indian people, and after this journey, he elaborated a small book about the Roma people and the small history of Roma people. And in this book, he explains his hypothesis about the Roma people and their origin. And I think that we need really a lot of work and deep and professional work on this question, and to see what are the similarity and the difference between the Roma people and the Indian people. But of course, it's a nice beginning, and it's a very good beginning. And the presentation of Madame Demirova can help us to have a different point of thinking and to use them for the future research. But of course, the work is even start now. We are really in the beginning, and I think that we need a lot of work on this field. Really, but by specialists of different groups, historical groups, anthropological the person who are working in ethnology, etc. It's really a very strong work that we need to do in the near future. It was only this that I wanted to reflect after this presentation. It was really very interesting, but I wanted just to relevant to this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Diana. Thank you very much. Yes, you are right. A lot of studies are required, and a lot of further studies are required. But from Indian side also, because as today's speaker talked about the Chris, there is a pertinent relationship between Chris and Panchayat. Not only in extrinsic aspect, even in intrinsic aspect. Like even the structures and the functions and the body of the Chris and the Panchayat are very much analogous and similar. She talked about the marriage and henna and Herdeleji. Herdeleji may be from from exterior, from the outer side, it may seem, like Turkish, because the Roma people stayed in Turkey for at least the 300 years during the Ottoman Empire and the Seljuk. So, but if we look deeply at Herdolezi, as Miss Demirova very rightly pointed out, that there is a relation between Indra. Indra is a Vedic god, and Indra, that's a Vedic god, and she gave the explanation of the different pantheons, the Indian pantheons, like the Lakshmi, Ganesha, the Indra, and all. So there are even the Professor Marcel Couthier that you are talking about. He shared with me about like wind, like very low, that there is a one word for wind, what we call it, wind in Romani language. So he explained, the different kind of winds and intensity, which are very much similar, and which are the part of Veda, Indian Veda. So yes, we have to get insight into the different ethnological and anthropological and sociological study besides the linguistic study. I think Ms. Demirova is also trying to put some remarks on your speech. So, ma'am, please.
I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning, but in the past 3 decades, I agree with Ms. Kirillova. We had so many obstacles, I would say obstacles, because we, as researchers, we didn't have a chance to do the researches as it should have been done. All the data, all the elements, all the information that we got is from the previous researchers, most of them made by non-Roma. So all the evidence that we have, or data, not evidence, that are proving all these bonds between India and Roma, actually we got them from not only researchers, they're just analyzing analytic text, and they're not giving us, they're not MA thesis, they're not giving you the clue, they're just giving you a way to do a further research. As a journalist in the past 3 decades, I made so many interviews and had so many interesting information. As I mentioned, Mr. Shaib Yusuf, because he was the first linguist, Roma linguist, member of the First World Roma Congress. So he is from that generation of the first Roma intellectuals, actually, that made the initiative for the First World Roma Congress. When I started my work as a journalist, he was editor-in-chief and also a proofreader in the newsroom Beyond Dipe. And actually, he has so many books and researches, and he didn't give us these books, and we still don't know where are they, because he and his wife have passed away many years ago. But I know that he has so interesting results from the research. It's not just important to make a research and not to have a result at the end. We've made a book with Mirtita Saliu about the cultural treasure, and we tried to how much we could from all the data that we knew from our journalistic research work to come to some conclusions in every field. But this is how should I say, general. It's not especially made field by field. So I agree with you that everyone should make profound research, a deeper research, and only in his field of expertise. So, and this is a very, very long process and work. And I hope that my dear fellows here, that you will also help and contribute to give a good results from the research, because I just make a comparison. I just made freely comparison. I didn't mention to you from where I took the information, etc., all the information, but they are not only from the book and from my journalistic work. I also used previous research made by others. You mentioned Mr. Marcel Cortiade, our late professor. I'm very, very sorry that he's not among us. And I have read what he wrote, but also Mr. Cruesi about Hederlezi. He has very interesting interesting evidence that are related to Muslims and to Turkish, to the Ottomans period in North Macedonia. But Mr. Shaip Yusuf has told us what are actually the bonds or the relation between two holidays in India and Hederlezi. And I say holiday because it's not only a celebration, it's a 5-day holiday here in North Macedonia. I don't, in other countries, it's not 5 days, but we have 5 days. First, we go to Shutalopani. It's a place where we gather those herbs and other things. Why we do it? Because on 6th of May at in the morning, we are putting those herbs in those trees. Part of trees, we're putting them in our home. There is a symbolic why we're doing that. Why before the holiday we're cleaning the house, that is also connected with Marime or Ujaripe of the house. So there are many things that actually they are connecting us with India. We need deeper research to find all the clues, all the evidence, and officially to put it in a scientific paper. But there are many things that I can assure you I have found, and I have quotes for them. And we should also make a research of those quotes in order to prove that they are not wrong. So that is that.
Thank you very much. I agree. As a researcher, we also face a lot of problems in data, as Diana said, a lot of problems because in India also, we have very great difficulties in finding the data and collecting the data. So it's a very but now it is also right that the Gaji, they made good works and good research works on the community, and if as well as a lot of similarities. But I find that a lot of Romani scholars like Raiko Jurek and Professor Kukade and Iristu Kuchuk and some other scholars like Saif Yusuf, as you mentioned, very prominent. He was also in India, and in the conference organized by right now we have Virendra Rishiji, his father W.R. Rishiji. He organized the first conference in India, and Sayyid Yusuf was one of the guests. And you gave us a lot of threads to further studies. And a lot of studies have been already carried out by the international scholars. But now in India also, we are trying to sensitize the students and the scholars to do the research on different aspects of the community. And yes, we can find this, these threads, they're scattered all across. Like the craze, as you mentioned, as you mentioned about the wedding, a lot of similarities in wedding ceremonies and the traditions and the rituals of wedding rituals, not only in henna, but also the pompous weddings, the costumes, the costumes put on by the Romani brides and bridegrooms, and the different kind of rituals performed during the weddings. A lot of similarities, and the families, extended families, very defined roles for the males and females in the families, in the societies. These are very similar, in Indian society. As I mentioned in the opening, that the cultural heritage, the Roma people is still in a different Macedonia, right? The Macedonia, Albania, and the Balkan. And I was there in Macedonia, I visited the Toplana and Gostivar, and I met a lot of Kovaci people and Jambazi. So how they don't marry, how they are very much strict towards the marriage between. So that is an endogamous marriage among the Roma community. And the iron smithing, yes, you are right. This is the iron smithing skill, that's the brought from India. That is the Kovaci, that's in Gostivar. I met a lot of iron smith experts. Still, they are practicing and doing these iron smithing works in Gostivar. So the Shabani, that's also Kovaci. As you also mentioned about the Mirdita salon, I met her also in. So a lot of scholars have done the research works on different aspects, but I believe as an Indian, that the Indian scholars have to come forward and they have to contribute, and because we think from the different aspects. If we look at the language, Romani language, we analyze from the different perspective, from the different point of view, and you analyze and the Romani people, they analyze from the different perspectives, because there is a cut off of 1,000 years, the millennia, So their memories and everything have disappeared and died out. So legends, if you talk about a lot of proverbs and legend stories, very much similar to the Indian legends, the Indian stories, and the proverbs which the Roma people use in day-to-day life. And as you talk about marriage, the purity and impurity, it's also quite explicit rituals or quite explicit customs in Indian society. That's the purity and impurity concept that is from India, which is quite obvious. And you talked about this system like that wedding, that's a henna, not only for the decoration of hands and legs, but it has a deep symbolic meaning, like the success of marriage, love and peace and happiness and bliss in the marriage. So there are a lot of the stories and attached to the application of henna in India, as I think in Roma society as well. So if the color of henna becomes dark and the brown, so it has a different meaning. So there are a lot of stories attached to the application of henna in Indian wedding system. So I think in Roma also. So I agree, but it is a very comprehensive presentation and a speech, and I'm really thankful to Demirova Abdulova ji for this presentation. And if anyone has some more question, one last question, if anyone has any question or any remarks, please go ahead. Any?
Hello.
Yeah, Mohan Singh ji, please.
Just I want to tell you, sir, that I almost a year I lived near Skopje, and every weekend I used to go to Skopje and meet the Romani people there. I found them on selling goods on the bridge of the river, and so that at the time I was not aware of that. They told me that we are from Indian origin. I was not aware till then. They forcibly captured me and said, you Roma jane na. Then I talked to them. Then I enjoyed with them for a year in the year 2000. 2001. I was posted in UN police in Kosovo at that time. So my police station was on the border of the Macedonia and Kosovo. That is General Jankovic and Kachanik. I was there. So I have very nice memories of Romani people in Skopje. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mohan Singh ji, for sharing your memories and experience in Macedonia. And I think now we reached at the finale of this lecture. So if anyone wants to make any comment, please quickly can make any comments. Otherwise, now I'm going to wind up this lecture, and I am really thankful to all of you, all the participants who participated in this lecture, and made this lecture very successful and motivating us to organize activities regularly and constantly. And I expect your participation in our future and upcoming events. And thank you very much once again, and I appreciate your valuable time you spend with us. And I also I'm especially thankful to our speaker today, who has given a wonderful and very insightful speech and presentation, I think which benefited us in many ways, benefited us and expanded the horizon of our knowledge about the Roma community in terms of culture and history, and in terms of the cultural and historical connection between Roma and India. So thank you very much on behalf of Center for Roma Studies and Cultural Relations and Indian Council for International Cooperation. I extend the sincere thanks to all of you, and I expect your participation in our future activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.